Vampires have long been a favorite creature of horror stories. But what if they were more than just blood-sucking monsters? What if they could take on the personalities of their victims? This is the case with some of the unique vampires we'll discuss in this YouTube video, called The Vampires Who Drink Your Blood Also Get Your Personality. We will learn more about these special vampires who gain intelligence, humor, and other characteristics when they drink someone's blood. We will look into how they use this power to their advantage to stay alive and relevant for centuries, as well as some of the downside that drinking someone's personality like a cocktail can have. Let's get into it. The history of vampires has been full of horror and fear since the very beginning. Stories of these creatures of the night, known as vampires, feeding on the innocent and unsuspecting, have been a staple of scary stories since ancient times. People shunned and feared vampires, causing them to isolate themselves from both humans and other vampires, which led many vampires to depression and antisocial tendencies in their immortal state. But one fateful day, a vampire named Alex fed on a woman she knew well and made a fantastic discovery, previously unknown to all vampires. The woman she fed on was praised for her sense of humor, while the vampire who did the blood drinking rarely even smiled. However, after Alex had downed that woman's blood like a frat boy drinking a keg, she noticed that little by little, she began to make others laugh. At first, she didn't make the connection. She thought she had changed naturally. It was only after she drank the blood of someone famous for his ability to track prey and found herself better able to hunt for victims that it occurred to her what was happening. With each new victim, she was amassing people's personality traits the way other people collected Pokemon Go characters. The urge to write a book about her experiences and discoveries took over her body like a pregnancy. One way or another, that baby was coming out. After she published her novel, most human people thought she had written fiction, but other vampires knew better and took it seriously. They paid more attention to whose blood they drank, and this changed vampires' outlook forever. Suddenly, those vampires with this ability, for not everyone had made this adaptation, could change to new eras and social situations, taking on the characteristics to make themselves more appealing to others. Many became more outgoing and confident after gorging on the blood of salespeople and celebrities, and they no longer wanted to hide away in darkness. Vampires, unlike the dodo, had adapted for the better. From the victim's perspective, the idea of vampires taking on the personality of whosever blood they drink is unsettling and creepy. They're already taking your life, and now they're taking your personality too? However, what does this mean for the relationships between vampires? For that, we have to understand another aspect of this power, because in addition to taking on new personality traits, victims can experience the memories and emotions of the person whose blood they drink, making it an incredibly powerful way for vampires to connect with each other. This allows them to understand and empathize with their partners in a way humans cannot. By drinking a small amount of each other's blood, vampires can form strong bonds that are based on the shared understanding of someone else's life story, as well as becoming more and more similar in personalities over time. However, this also comes with potential dangers. If a vampire drinks too much of another person's blood, they might find themselves overwhelmed by their partner's emotions and memories. It's hard enough to go through and sort one's own baggage without having someone else's memories clogging everything up. For vampires, the prospect of taking on another person's personality can be daunting, and vampires need to be forever mindful of whose blood they are drinking. Another downside of this ability is that vampires can, like a teenager trying to figure out who they are, become overwhelmed with all the different personalities they have taken on over time. If that wasn't hard enough, this power works more like genetics, in that vampires can't choose which trait they receive, nor can they stop themselves from absorbing other people's traits when they drink their blood. So, a vampire might be trying to get someone's mathematical intelligence, but end up with their social awkwardness instead. The challenge of adapting can be especially true if the vampire has taken on a personality that is very different from their own. They may not know how to cope with the sudden change in their character, and this can be quite frightening. Many vampires have had identity crises, wondering who they really are. When a vampire takes on multiple personalities over time, it can be difficult for them to determine which part of themselves belongs to them and which belongs to someone else. This can cause confusion and a sense of being lost. It can also create a feeling of unease, as vampires struggle to find a sense of stability in their lives. In conclusion, vampires have long been a scary story staple, but the idea that they can take on the personalities of those whose blood they drink adds a new layer of mystery to the myth. This ability gives vampires the unique opportunity to adapt and evolve as time passes, and offers them a level of control over their own destiny that is unprecedented. However, it also has drawbacks, as vampires must carefully consider the consequences of taking on the personality traits of others, as these can have a lasting effect on their relationships with themselves and other vampires.